Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's live stream. Hopefully, everyone can hear me and I'm coming through nice and clear. Yeah, apologies, we've been away for some time. Let's get to the basics of it. Basically, all sorts of things have been happening. I've been ill, kids have been ill. I've been like stressed out of all sorts of things going on, trying to get things going. But we're in a good place now. I think we're getting to a good position where we're sort of reinvigorating some things. Trying to find a healthy balance between work and life. So, you're going to see some new things coming to the channel, hopefully relatively soon. Most notably, one of the things we're going to be doing for changing wise is the retro remake series, which is usually a live stream series. We're going to experiment with it being not a live stream, instead be all pre-recorded, but live in a sense where we're not going to just cut it up and things like that. You're going to see live working on it, but released weekly, not every month. So you'll get like a whole series. So basically do like a series of videos and then a break, then another series of videos, then a break, another series, almost like a TV program. We'll experiment with that sort of model and see where that sits with people. And if that's successful, we'll obviously evolve it into other things too. But yes, we are back and ready to answer some questions. So if you don't know what tonight's all about, tonight is a question time live stream where you can ask me any question you like. All you got to do is put your question into chat. I try and grab as many questions as I can and answer them as best I can within the time we are here live. So let's just jump straight in to Unreal and start answering some people's questions that are starting to come into the chat. There we go. I'm also experimenting with this live streaming in both horizontal and vertical because currently we can do dual stream. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm going to try and do my best to keep the two lives going there. In fact, let me just readjust this one. Right, there we go. Okay, so let's answer some questions. Yeah, it's been a while, Steve. Yeah, I'm hopefully trying to get back into the swing of things a bit. Okay, Dauntless Games. Evening, Ryan. Could you touch on how to use a chooser table and motion matching like the game animation sample project for a superhero flight system, or point me in that direction? Congrats, a Mimic. So, I've also been looking at the chooser tables and motion matching. Actually, last week we were doing quite a lot with it. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it a bit too myself. I need to spend more time with it. We did some workarounds to make it work for what we wanted to work on a certain project, but I'm halfway to understanding it, maybe a bit over halfway understanding it. So I understand the concept of the tables and how they work and how they choose which one it is, but I don't know the logic with inside the chooser tables and where that comes from. So I'm still deciphering it myself. One of the downsides of not working for Unreal is I have to figure this out as well. So bear with me. I am working my way through it. Once I've got a head around it and I could do more with it, I'll try and do some tutorials on it and motion matching things in general. But yeah, so far I'm still working my way through and how to best take it apart, basically. But yeah, we'll get to it. If not, we'll show a way of using the motion matching template they've given you and adding your own layers onto it using animation layers. So doing examples like having them holding guns, bow and arrows, things like that inside of layer systems, and showing where you could intersect it inside the animation sample. But yeah, working on it. Audio's quiet. Anyone else? Audio quiet? Seems okay. My side. Let me just turn it up a little bit then. 1 second. Let me see if I can add a filter to it. Add some gain. How's that? Is that any better? A bit more. Testing 1 2 1 2. Let's get it peaking a little bit more. 1 2. There we go. Let's know how that sounds. If it sounds too distorted or rubbish or whatever. But yeah. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, next question. Let's go back up here. That's good to hear, Ben. You got it solved there. Thank you, Captain Menez. Thank you so much for the kind words. So this one's from Rank 10 McDonald's. Hello, Ryan. In my game, I have 10 to 20 AI on the map, but I have low FPS. In games, AI are spawned and despawned in runtime based on distance, or we put all AI on a level. So yeah, essentially, yes, you're correct. Is that your AI when you're spawning in? So imagine, for example, this map is a very large map. Okay, just get your head around it. And imagine like this is one part of the level and this is another part of the level. You would have your AI character. In fact, let me just bring them in. We just add the third person character on. Okay. And yeah. So you'd put in your characters like in here. So this is your AI, enemies, whatever. But they won't be activated. So usually AI by default will activate as soon as they're placed in the world. But what you want to do is change the setting on them. And that setting is auto possess. And you'll see auto possess AI. Change that from placed in world to disabled. Yeah, or just spawned if you want. So when you do spawn something dynamically, they'll automatically get possessed. But if that's disabled, basically, they're just going to not do anything. They're just going to stand there. And what you want to do is have them activate with a trigger when your player gets near them. And so you'd have a trigger system set up with a volume maybe set up in a doorway or in a hallway before a room happens. And that will then trigger the AI to kick in and start going. Now, this is a lot more efficient because of a few reasons. One is the characters, if they're already in the level already loaded, then it's already saving a lot of headache and trying to load it up at runtime. The second thing is that you're not worried about animation running, you're not worried about AI controllers running or any of that heavy logic running there. You're just turning them off and on, basically. And in terms of, like, if you've got a very large world, you turn them off when you get a certain distance away and maybe even remove them completely. And then you turn them back on when you get near them, obviously. So I've done a system before. Obviously, I can't do it right now because it'll take too long. But I've done a system before where we've done like a horde, sort of zombie horde of like hundreds of AI. And it looks like hundreds, but actually it's only like 10 or 20 actually active at any one time. It's just that when I get near them, I have a sensor around the character and it just turns them on when they enter my area. And it works really, really well. It makes it look like you have a horde just chasing you. Which is really cool. But yeah, so essentially, yes, you're right. You turn them off when you're not using them, and then you turn them on when you get near or trigger them. And that's what you generally see in games. So if you ever like play a game and manage to hack it out and get that camera out and zoom around, you'll find all the characters and AI are just standing around waiting for you to turn up. Normally, anyway. Captain Mares, in case you need a starter question, what's your opinion on Lyra? Good to use or only for a more ability-based game like versus like Battlefield or style shooter? I personally don't like Lyra, whatever you want to call it. I personally don't like it as a teaching tool. It's useful for like grabbing assets and using the assets from there. So I've used like the animations from that several times, but the actual code base itself, I don't like building from. To the classic example that it's unless you're willing to break it. Can you actually get that? I've never actually tried getting the source of Lyra. You must be able to. Unless you're able to go into and edit the source of Lyra, then it's kind of pointless because a lot of their stuff is hidden behind the scenes on that, and it's using a lot of experimental stuff that you don't have access to normally. So as a teaching tool, it's kind of bad because you basically are only telling people you can only make a game like Lyra or Lyra, whatever you want to call it, and so it's kind of limiting in that factor. Because if you ever looked at it, you'll notice it's using a lot of custom base classes, which it's pretty simple to set up. You can set that up in C++ quite easily, but I can't recall. It's been a while since I looked at it. Can't recall if you have access to the source code of it and you can break it down. Like go into the C++ file for it and then see how it works behind the hood. Because they've got things in there as well to customize the movement and how to improve its replication of that movement. It's kind of like gate locking it behind all the systems there. So I personally don't like using it as a base. I like to go in from scratch, and I personally typically don't like starting from a base of someone else's work. I like to start on the base of my own work or work that I'm familiar with, because then I know what is redundant and what's not redundant. There's nothing worse than trying to take someone else's code and taking it, like Frankensteining it, taking it apart, trying to make it work for what you want to make it work with. Kind of annoying to do. So yeah, I personally don't like it, but I can see why people would like it. It's not a problem. Vladislav, have you ever published anything in Fab or UE Marketplace? Do you have any tips on how to get more sales? I haven't published in Fab or UE Marketplace before. I always wanted to try it, but I can't be bothered, basically. And now with Fab, I really can't be bothered. So I can't give you any tips personally. My advice though is to remember it's just a platform, right? So it's a shop platform. So all the same theory and practice that is used in other shop fronts and other platforms applies there too. So good thumbnails, good first excerpts of text descriptions, actual descriptions, screenshots, all those things that you normally associate with like releasing a game, for example, on Steam or whatever, will still apply to that as well. It's the same concept. So that would be a good place to start looking at market research on how to actually publish stuff in general, and then apply the same thing to that. And same goes if you're doing UEFN, same stuff there. Which quest system is usable from Fab? My project is complex and has lots of levels. I don't know. I've not used any of the quest systems available on Fab. I usually just make my own. So this is what I was saying about building it from other people's code. It can be very difficult if you're not familiar with coding in general. So, like, if you're new to gaming, if you're new to Unreal, I'd recommend against using a like a starter project or plugin project, whatever, if you are trying to do anything different from what that project's trying to do. So what I mean is, like, if you're trying to extend it or change it to work for you, then you're not in the right place to do that yet. I'd really recommend that for people who are knowledgeable about the engine and knowledgeable about code. Especially when it comes back down to scalable code. A lot of the times I've got stuff or seen stuff on Fab through like consulting sessions. I've seen stuff come through, and it's just an unscalable mess of code that someone's made. And it's like, yeah, okay, it works fine for the demo that you're making for the prototype of the marketplace asset, but when you start wanting to expand it to loads of levels like you're trying to do, it becomes very unmanageable. So yeah, I'd be very careful about using stuff like that. Honestly, my best advice is try and make your own. At least then you know what you're better build your understanding of it better, and then you can always then cater it exactly to your own needs rather than anything else. Or if anything, use the stuff from Fab or whatever as a learning tool. Like, try to understand it, what you're looking at, rather than trying to randomly just cut bits and make it work for where you want it to work. King Gamer, can you do a tutorial on how to make a character hold a flashlight with animation? I don't have an animation to use, I don't think. Let me have a look. I don't think I do. Otherwise, I'd be happy to show you. No, I could show it with a pistol, I guess. Animations. Do I have any like torch animations? So if not, do it with a pistol. Same concept. Yeah, alright, I'll do a pistol. Hold on. Okay, a couple of good questions there. We'll go through with that in a minute. Okay, so let's just make our character equip a gun. Let me just swap over to a third-person map whilst we're here. Okay, and we've got animation starter pack here. Got pistol. So what I'm going to do is for pistol, it's exactly the same for a flashlight. You just obviously different animations. So we've got equip pistol, idle pistol, and just take these two. So let me just retarget these quickly. Oh, weapon. Didn't actually do anything. Nope, it's there. Pistol, and we'll just see what that's looking like. Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that. So we'll do like export these two animations here. Okay. Not export. Yeah, export it to there. Be fine. There we go. So I'm just going to turn the equip into a montage. And I just want, first of all, to get the player to play the animation. So break the problems always down into chunks. So the first thing I want to do is get to play an animation. So, oh, and let's make a torch asset as well. Hold on, a flashlight asset, rather. Do a very, very simple flashlight. So important to note, anything that you want the player to hold, make sure it has no collision with the character at all. If it has collision, then you're going to run into problems. So make sure that that is not the case. That'll do. And then we'll add a spotlight to it. Like that. That'll do. Okay. There's our flashlight. Making sure you're facing the x-axis there. Okay. So, I need my character to equip this thing. So, I need it to have sockets first of all, and also play the animation. So, let's play the animation first. So, I'm just going to make it do it with just the one key. Something simple like that. And we'll take the mesh. Take it to play a montage. And we'll show you this in context with layers as well. As I feel like people don't really make use of them. They're really useful. So, play montage, do that. So let's just see that working. Make sure that that bit works as we intend it to. Yep, there you go. Okay, so I need that to grab the pistol slash flashlight from the back of the character. So let's go ahead to our mannequin skeleton. Where is it? Meshes? That's it. Okay, and it was around about the back. I won't spend too long on it. So we're going to go down to spine 2, maybe. Add a socket to that. And just for previewing, it's not going to be exact because I don't have all the exact things to use. We'll just use this as a guide. I want to move that socket roughly where the flashlight's going to be, or pistol, whatever you're trying to do this with. And like that, I guess. Okay, a spine 2 socket. And then I'll do another socket for the hand. So let's go to the hand. Right hand as well, in this case, because they're going to be right-handed. Hand socket. And again, add the preview to this. We use the same preview. Now, I'm using this as a preview. It might be useful to understand what I'm doing. It's because it's stick-like, and it's facing the correct direction. So X is forwards, okay? And that's the direction it's going in. So I just want to make sure that that is the case for this. It's always facing that way. And usually when I'm doing this as well, especially with the hands in mind, I'll preview an animation. In this case, I'll preview the equipped pistol animation. That way, it's a little bit easier to line up better with all the twists of the wrists and things like that. So I'll just stop the animation and just put it roughly where I want it to go. So it's going to end up like that there. So we need to we'll just like that. For so you have the actual asset, it'd be useful. But there you go, lined up how we want it to go. Okay, put that in there. Next is the actually attaching it with the hands. Actually, let's do the layers first. Let's do the animation layers, because that's new for everyone probably. So animation blueprints, you can have layers into it and insert those layers in where you want it to go. So for example, this is just a basic animation blueprint. But if we go ahead and create in here animation layer interface, combat, sure, whatever. And in here, much like an interface, you just design what slots you want this to have. Okay, so usually with animation, we'll have a full body slot, usually have like a upper body slot, and so on. Okay, we only worry about these two. Once you got that though, we're going to go and add this to the class settings of our animation blueprint. So we go in here, and there it is. When you add it, you'll see it down now in the bottom left, animation layers, and you'll see upper body and full body. And so the way these work is you can drag these out, and you can see here they come as a layer. Basically, you can insert animations in this point or override them completely. What we're going to do is we are going to take a simple animation. Let's take this full body animation and put it in through the main states here. Okay, so I'm gonna put this like so, and then this lot of animation I'm gonna cut and put inside a full body in here. Okay, something like that. So basically, it's not doing anything different. It's just doing exactly what we had before. It's inside this layer now, and then going into this stuff. What I want to do though instead maybe though is I want to make another animation blueprint. So we'll make another animation blueprint. And we'll choose the skeleton. UE4 SKM skeleton. There you go. And we'll call this one pistol. Okay. And this one is going to be blank, except that you're going to have the class settings now include that interface. So I'll go combat, and you'll see them down here again. And let's go into full body, and now I can put in whatever I want in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that information across from the full body in here. Now, what you saw in there was that it's going to be using some states in here that I would probably want to use in this one too. Which, you know, fine, fair enough. But maybe I want to pass this information across to the animation instead of having to copy and paste the whole event graph across, which I could do. But what I'm going to do is be a bit more efficient with it. So this full body thing needs to have the should move and needs to have this ground speed. It needs those two things plugged into it. So if I go back to my animation layer, go to full body and add those two inputs. So we'll put an input pose in it, sure, why not? But we'll put another one in. Oh, input, sorry, here. Inputs, and this will be should move and ground speed. And that'd be a float. Okay. Compile that. And what we should see, if I go back to here, is our input pose now has these in them. And I can use these to feed into my state machines or whatever it is I want to store in there. So I can grab those properties and plug them into the locomotion here. But in this case, this is the original one. So how do I get that across to there? So I need to get this data, this information, in to there. How do I do that? I forgot now. Oh crap! What was it? Oh no, we'll just make a function. Function? No. Hang on. I've forgotten how you get this into here now. Also, do I need anything different for this? I didn't forget to check this one. Should move. Oh, it's falling. Crap. Oh, it's velocity. Oh, crap. Okay. Nuts. Okay. I've forgotten how to do that. We need to get that stored through into here. We can't just promote to variable. I've totally forgotten how you do that. So. Can we do it on here? No. Because in the main graph, you do. Oh. Your should move and ground speed come through here, and you can plug them into should move and ground speed. But how do we get it to go into there? Well, we'll carry on as we are, and then we'll see what happens. That's always fun to figure out. So yeah, we're going to go and just take all this stuff and copy it and put it onto the pistol. Yeah. See what happens. So a few things why this system is better to do for, while we wait for this to catch up, better for your project workflows is that imagine you got a team of animators working on a single project. You can't have everyone working inside the same animation blueprint. It's just not feasible. So what you'd have is you would have different layers that you can insert in, and they insert themselves and override whatever animation is going in. So for example, developer A could be working on the pistol animations, developer B could be working on the rifle animations, independent of each other, and it will still work fine with no issues. So I don't think it'll pick up the values in that though, because yeah, you're gonna get an error. I've forgotten how you do that. Hang on, let me look it up. So if not, the very worst thing you can do is just copy the event graph data across. But ideally you don't want to do that because that becomes problematic if changes happen. Okay, I think what we'll do is on update for the state machine here, we'll add a new binding for it. Okay, So this is basically a function that's going to happen the whole time whilst it's updating that information there. And the variables I need to get from there. How do I do that? Bum 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 bum. Totally forgot how you do this. On update, it'll do that. Totally forgotten how you pass those into there. Sugar. Oh, I know what we can do. Sorry, I know what we can do. Bum 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 bum. If I come back out there. In fact, actually, I'll go back into the pistol and just change it in the class settings. So change the parent class to the APP Manny. The parent. Okay, and that should be fine now using this because it has the exact same stuff. I don't need to pass through these values. It's going to inherit the event graph into there. It's going to override its own full body stuff into here. The animation graph then will go into there. We can just take those, remove bindings, I guess. I don't really care about those. Okay. Now go into there and then carry on like normal. Anyway, the main thing I wanted to show was on here. Let's go to idle. Just swap the idle out for pistol. Idle pistol. Like that. And that'll go into there like that. When you complete this, then you want to take the mesh, get the Anim instance for it, and you want to add a linked layer, link Anim class layer, and you saw there's an unlink as well. So when you want to unequip it, it's exactly the same thing. So on completed here, we'll just change it to the pistol, and it should. I don't know how it actually behave in terms of the parenting. Yeah, it's going to take the same thing, isn't it? How can I stop that from doing that? We'll come back to that. I'm gonna we'll do the other thing first, which is put it in the actual hand. So, someone's suggesting what's the best way of doing it, and they were saying add in a socket to where your light is, and when it grabs it during the animation graph, that you attach it to the hand socket. Totally could do that. There's actually a much more scalable way of doing this. So you want to make a blueprint class, and you're going to choose Anim notify, and we'll make this one Anim notify grab, for example. And in this functions, we're going to override receive notify. So on receive notify, I want to pass through what it is I want to trigger at that moment in time, right? So I want to get the joint at that moment and swap it over to the correct bone socket. Okay. So we're going to take the mesh component. We're going to get the parent. Get owner of this. And then from there, we are going to cast to our third person character. And we want to get whatever object we want him to grab. Okay, so promote to variable. Oh, not promote to variable, sorry. In here we need a variable. And that'll be a child actor. Which we attach to the mesh and choose our BP flashlight. It is. And I'm just going to put that on the socket for the back there. So spine 2 socket. There we go. Let's tell the camera boom there. I forgot to take the collision off the thing, didn't I? Whoops. Where'd I put it? After I gave all that talk about make sure we got no collision on it, I forgot to do it myself. There we go. Yeah, so there it is on there. Okay, and this is the actor we want to grab. Right, so on the variables here, we'll have a held actor, for example, whatever it may be, and that'll be actor component or actor, I guess. Like that, and back on notify here, we can now get the held actor, and in here we're going to attach actor to component. And the parent component is going to be the mesh component. So take that from there, mesh comp. And the socket name will make a variable. And I'll make that editable. And the reason why I make it editable is because I want to be able to edit it in each animation where it's going to go. And location rule, we'll just do snap to targets like that. And then when it goes across, we'll tick the box. So whatever I identify as the thing I want to grab, that's the thing I'm going to put into the correct location. So, with that done, I'm going to go back to the animation. And on this animation, I can now put that in wherever I want the grab to happen. So, we're going to go to there. Okay? I'm going to go to notify, and notify grab. And when it does that, I can indicate over here what socket I want to put it in. In this case, I want to put it in the hand socket, which is there, hand socket. Like that. So the flexibility of this means I can now use that same all logic in there and just place it on different animations for different things without having to do all custom stuff. So all I've got to do then on my player characters is identify what the object is I want to grab. So debug 1, I want to set my held actor to be, in this case, the child actor of my component here. Like that. Okay. Compile, save. So putting that in there will work just fine. So let's just go ahead and if you wanted to, you can even input this if you want onto the animate notify as well, if you like. But what you should see in there's a flashlight on my back now. Go to grab and out it comes. Okay. So it's a really nice way to make something work like that without having to redo the code over and over and over again. And let's go to notify, grab and add more stuff to it. Let's go back and add this link anim class here. I can take that off of there. Put it into my grab here. And put that in there. But instead of the mesh reference, you're going to use the reference that is the mesh component, which is just here. Just grab it, put it in, like that. But the beauty of this then is that class here, I can then take that out and promote that to a variable. And we do layer animation class and make that editable. So on that single notifier, I can tell it what I want it to attach to and what anim class I'm going to do. So now let's say I want to do an unequip. I can just make it do the opposite. So let's do an unequip one. I'm going to duplicate this and call it unequip. It'd be just exactly the same. I'm just going to make it go in reverse. Play rate -1. Like that. Okay, and this, I think it's the same anyway. I think it's mirrored. But we'll go to here. And I want it to now change the animation grab here to the spine O2 socket. So do spine O2 socket. I think that's what it's called. Double check. Yep, spine O2 socket. And then layer AM class, I want to maybe clear it. And what we can now do is with that being cleared is I can go back to my notify and just say to itself, well, if this is not valid, I want to unlink it. Yeah, if it's valid, link it. If it's not valid, unlink it. Yeah, I think if you leave it, no, you have to get. Oh, damn it, no. Okay, we need a thing in it to determine which one to go. So this does need to have that, but we need a variable in here. Is linking. Again, make it editable. Then to a branch. If it's true, false. Like that. So on my unequipped one, I can now just untick that box, and the Anim class is going to be the pistol again. Socket, and go back to the other one, and just tick that little tick box on that one. So let's just make it do a quick and easy toggle on here. So on debug key 1, we'll do like a flip flop, I guess. Flip flop, do that. In fact, I'll just do that there, and then do select. To that. So if it's true and it's A, pick the top one, I want to do the equip. If it's false, I want to do the unequip. Very cheap, dirty trick around, but we'll see it working. So hit 1, we'll grab, hit 1 again, we'll ungrab. And it'll do the whole linking and unlinking layers too. And you can now use that same notify for all your different items the player may hold. Pickaxes, chainsaws, swords, whatever you want to do. As long as you've got an anim layer for it, it'll work. So yeah, hopefully that works with exact same way there. How does it work with IK with sockets? How works IK with sockets? I'm not entirely certain what you're trying to say there, but if you're asking, yeah, if you put that into there. It should work the same with RK, so it's just a socket on the bone basically. Can you start putting a text overlay at the bottom of the screen? I've tried doing that. It won't let me do it in an easy way. I'll have to, I'm still exploring different ways to make that work. There's a chat highlight tool in here, but it doesn't ever work for me. Go back to here. No, see, it hasn't. I don't know. It's something I'm looking at. I'm trying to do. Good to see you, Luke. How does it work IK with sockets if it's always two-handed with a shovel? Oh, yeah, you do need to have an IK socket for your left hand. You normally do it with the left hand. And you have a different IK bit of stuff going on the animation blueprint, which tells it which socket to hold it into. Try to make all the IK sockets named the same. It makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, yeah. We'll move on to something else. Hang on. Let me scroll back up. What's this about? Stick shuttering. Hang on. Be called gamer. It's causing because I get the proper preparing shows message. I was thinking about making a pause. It didn't make sure. Asset manager. Okay, so recalled gamer, your optimization techniques. So I'm just going back for all your messages. One sec. Okay, so if you're seeing stuttering when you first bring in a particle system It could be numerous things, but the most common fix for things like that, when you notice it's when you click spawn, it stutters for the first time, is to pull it and basically have it in your scene somewhere already, already being rendered and already being used somehow. I don't know, something like that would help quite a lot. Obviously, there's things like shaders and sorting out the shader complexities of that, and make sure the particles only appearing when you want them to appear, all that stuff. Trying It depends. I would have to see what you're trying to do with the particle system. But someone said yeah, one thing they said was it will be better when it's packaged. That's true. Your game does run better when it's packaged. Yeah. Trying to catch up with all the questions now. Hold on. Casting is intensive. It depends what you do with it. So in that case, we need to do it because I need a way of getting the reference to the held actor. You could do an interface, but it's not going to be much different. And the casting is not intensive in the sense that I've already got my player character already loaded up in memory. It's not adding anything extra to memory. And this is only happening once on the thing. It's not recursive. It's not happening all the time. So it's not bad at all. It's when it's recursive and constantly calling upon itself, that's when it becomes problematic, and always trying to call something that doesn't already exist in the level. In this case, a player does exist in the level because they're the ones playing the animation, so it's not too bad. Interfacing is not going to be much different. It's still going to be accessing stuff from outside of the main actor, but it shouldn't matter either way. You're not going to notice any dip in that. I saw a good question. Where was that? Are you working on a game? Your own project? Yes, I think my game Mimic I'm working on. Any updates on Mimic? We want to start doing regular live stream testing sessions with people. So keep an eye out for posts about that on Patreon. We'll be sending out keys for those who still haven't got keys. And we'll try and do something a bit more regular with that. I don't know. I saw a good question, but I can't remember what it was now. Let's move on. What's better, a database or a data asset? Okay, so I actually got this question another week ago. So a database is good in a sense that it can store a ton of items in it. The downside to a database is that whenever you do something like, hold on, let me just get the code up and I can show you. Oops. So whenever you do something like get data table row, okay, whenever you do something like that, what it's actually doing is it's going to search through the whole entire table to find the row. Okay, so it goes all the way down. The problem with that, obviously, if you've got like 1 million items in there, it could not even the most efficient way of doing it. What can be more efficient is having a data asset. A data asset allows you to directly link straight to the asset data information without having to scroll through different information that is not relevant. The other benefit data assets have is that you can have functionality on them. They're expandable as well, so if you want to add more variables to it, more features to it, or change something about it, it's not going to be anything destructive or break or even crash the engine if you're doing stuff like that. Databases typically will crash if you try to change too much in the struct, the underlying struct that is. Yeah, so it is generally nicer to use data assets. The downside of data assets is they are harder to manage and harder to look after because they're all over. Like you have to organize them yourself inside a content browser. Especially if you start getting millions of them. Yeah, so it can become problematic. So, yeah. What's the best way to simulate physical hit reactions on a character? I won't do it now, but there's a plugin you can install. Not install, and activate. That's useful for this. Where is it? I'm pretty certain it was a plugin. Unless I made it part of the actual kit since then. Hold on, let me double check. Ah, yes, yeah, sorry. Physical animation. So in the physical animation there. Yeah, it's experimental. But this is something you can do to basically make it like floppy when it receives a hit, and so it can react to hits like that. So look into this as quite a useful tool. You can do from there physical animation. You'll see you got apply physical animation settings, get body target transform, get strength multiplier. You can do all these sort of things to sort of replicate what kind of effect you want it to have happen. So if we do apply physical animation settings below, you put in the body part name. So that would be like the bone that you want it to affect. So if you pick the spine, it'll pick basically your upper arms because they are below in the hierarchy of the skeleton. And the physical animation data you can drag out, you can make it, and you can set all this information up to simulate. And it works quite nicely. Yeah. So check it out. Experiment, have a play with it. Nico, can we have asynchronous function run without C++? Sims Unreal can't do this using only blueprints. You're correct. That is one of the downsides of blueprinting, is that you cannot create your own asynchronous functions, or you also can't do your own delegation event delegates as well. So that's where C++ will become really handy, and you can handle it on that side of things. You're making a C++ MMORPG with a dedicated server. Okay, you're brave. My inventory component has a server RPCs like add item, remove item, but I think exploiter can call them. How do I prevent that? I mean, there's several things you can do. One thing you can do is you can make it sure that it's the server will check to see that the calls actually come from a legitimate source. So all the interactions and all the functionality has to come through the server first of all. So let's say, for example, I want to loot a body and pick up all its items. The server knows what the loot has been dropped. Yeah, the server told the client, here's what's been dropped. And let's say the client then clicks on it to pick it up. I would then send that across to the server and say, I want to pick up these things. And does it match the same loot that was dropped? If it does, put it through. If it doesn't, then obviously there's an issue there. Yeah, so it should never cause any problems in that sense, because the client is just basically saying, yes, I'd like to pick it up, please. The server's just doing it for them. They're not doing anything. They shouldn't have any direct access to it. I saw someone asking a question, but I can't remember the name. I can't find it now. But about game states. No, I can't find it. So someone asked about game states. I can't remember what the exact question was or who it was, so apologies. But So game states, what the game state is basically it's like game mode, but it's everyone has access to it. The game mode only the server has access to. The game state everyone has access to. There's only one of them, but it's shared across everyone and it's replicated to everyone. So the game state is useful for sharing information that everyone needs to know about. So things like the game match timer would be on the game state. The points per team would be on the game state. All those sort of things would be there, so every player can access them and check them. The actual game mode would then check to see if the game state if it detects someone has won. So the game mode will be doing that sort of checking to determine whether or not the end of the match has occurred. But yeah, the game state is just something that everyone has access to. Keep in mind that only the server can replicate, so the clients can't tell the game state to change something. They have to ask the server to change it for them. And that's the best way to think about multiplayer in that sense, is that it's always the client asking permission from the server to do something for them. Think of like your clients as children and they're trying to talk to the adults and ask them to help them get like cut up their food, essentially, same thing. Animator Alex, can you give a rundown of what this new state tree system is and what it's intended to be replacing? Yes, I've actually got a series of videos coming out because they've actually done a good job of fixing a lot of the problems that were in it in 5.5. So in 5.5 they've cleaned up a lot and it's a lot better. So we go through it in our video. We've got it on Patreon at the moment and there's more coming out. I've got some really cool ones coming out for it at the moment. But a state tree is a it's not just for AI, it can use it for other things too, and I want to show that in some videos soon, like how to make it for like doors and chests, for example. But essentially it's just a way of organizing the state of an actor at any one moment in time. The most common example people use is AI, and thinking it's a replacement of the behavior tree, which, I mean, you could argue it is, but they do different things differently. So the way the state tree works is the state tree can jump across the tree itself, where the behavior tree, if you would know if you follow my videos, it will always follow a strict pattern of which branch it would go down, such as the left hand side the most. State tree doesn't do that. Your state tree gives you more freedom and a way to tackle it, so it's a lot more flexible in that sense, and it has a lot more functionality in the sense of like when you can trigger things to happen and what tasks to occur when, and the knock-on effect those tasks would have. So it most commonly is used for AI, but you can use it for other things too. And that's what Epic have been trying to get people to have a look at, is that, hey, here's this tool, consider using it. And that's important to realize, is when you see some of these tools like state trees come out and gameplay tags and all these other things, they are not tools designed to replace things entirely. It's actually there just to give you another tool you can use. It's just a new thing. If you want to use it, you can use it. If you don't want to use it, fine. Totally up to you. But there are some benefits to it, and we'll go through those in those videos there. I've mentioned a couple already. But yeah, state trees are pretty cool now. And, well, in fact, they actually work. It's pretty cool. So if we go to AI, you can see a state tree here. It's best, by the way, to turn on the plugins for state tree, because there's a couple not turned on by default. So I won't do it now because I've got to restart the whole thing. But you want gameplay state trees on, and state graph, I think it was. But yeah, these things are pretty cool. Video you'll see coming soon. Very good. Best tips for optimization. So best tips for optimization. My number one tip for it is you want to build your game with it in mind, but don't worry about it until you get towards completion. So it may sound kind of like oxymoronic in that sense, but basically what you're trying to say is, like, let's say I'm building a inventory system. I want to make sure I'm doing various certain things in it, or building a level, sorry. So let's say I'm building a level. I want to make sure I'm building things as I go with my mind tuned into the fact that, oh, I'll need to make sure the textures are of a certain resolution, or I have to make sure I'm using instant stack meshes for certain things, or be aware of the lighting setup. So I'm being aware of these things as I go. And then later on, when I reach the end or near the end, I'll then go back and do an optimization pass, and then go, right, how can we optimize this now? And that's where I can pick up any loose ends that I didn't think about at the time or didn't consider I would need at the time. The worst thing to do is optimize as you go. If you do that, you'll never finish your game, so don't do it. It's very bad. I've seen too many people just get stuck in a loop of forever optimizing and end up taking years and years and years and years to finish their projects, if they ever finish them. So don't do that. Get the game to the end first and then go back and optimize it. But try to keep in mind optimization techniques as you go. So do pick up a few things like that. Yeah, state tree is more accommodating for the machine learning. Yeah, yeah, for the waiting situation. Yeah. And Jesse McCord, how to properly unequip an item so it doesn't just spawn over and over again when re-equipping. It sounds like you're not destroying the original actor that you are picking up. So when you pick up an actor, you're either picking it up and destroying one and adding it in to your hand, a new one in, or you're taking the actual one you found on the floor and putting it into your hands. Either way, you should only ever have one around. If you're then unequipping, you're either then spawning onto the ground or just dropping the one you have in your hand. So it sounds like you're missing a step where you are not deleting the one you're picking up. So destroy and spawn. You can destroy and spawn, yeah. They're the two ways of doing it. You can either destroy and spawn or just grab the one that you see on the floor. Yeah. My game is releasing at July. Is it worth the Scepter 5.5? No. If you're that close to release, don't bother trying to upgrade it unless you definitely don't have issues with it. But no, don't. Destroying and spawning is costly in the sense that you are I mean, everything has a cost associated to it, but the more clean way of doing it is to just grab the item that you see on the ground. Because you're not adding anything, you're not destroying anything, you're just grabbing the thing and attaching it. That's obviously the better way, but there's no harm in doing destroy and spawn. Totally fine. I very much doubt you'll have any major issues with that. Best hopes and wishes for UE6. I want them to stop thinking about verse. I hate verse. My issues with verse are that it's trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. Because if I wanted to code in the project, I'd just code it in C++. Why I would have to learn a whole new language just to do it? Whether they say it runs faster, better, whatever, I doubt it'll run anything better than C++, because, you know, that's what the engine's made it. So, and then you got the other side of things where you want quick, fast iteration times. Well, that's blueprinting. So where does verse come in? So I want them to give up verse. I don't know why they're obsessed with it. It's not nice to use at all. Verse is the language they're using in UEFN. Because blueprinting is too expansive for UEFN, so it gives too much access to stuff. They limit a lot what you can do in UEFN, and so Verse is they're introducing Verse as their own programming language. Yeah, I hate it. I don't like it. But UE6, I don't think it's needed. So I'm not in any rush. I mean, there are still games I think coming out in UE4, so you know, I think worrying about UE6 now is pointless. I don't know. I don't know. I think UE5 still has room to grow. There's still stuff they need to fix and finish on it. So yeah. Penguin Z, how do I make the color of my material change quickly and automatically after a certain amount of time? So if you want something to change like a material, if it's only changing once and not in like a pattern, you want to make use of material parameter collections to handle that. So they're like global variables you can use. So for example, I want to give this a material, right? Let's go material. And we'll just make that go base color. And we'll set this to white. Okay. But I want this to change, okay, based upon a material parameter. So you can use that by going into material, use material parameter collection. And in here, just define some variables. So vector parameter for color. So we'll just do in here color. And we'll set default value of white. Like that. And then if you want to use that in your material, just type in here collection parameter. And you choose your NPC. You can have multiple, so choose the right one. And then choose your parameter from the list. So color. And then plug that into there. So then if I want that to change, I can have another function that's checking that and putting that in there. That's if you want it to change once. If you want it to change like a pattern, like a timing pattern, then you can do that inside of the material like a loop. It will loop it inside the material. In which case you'll be using the time node to work out what it is you actually want to achieve. So time is how much time has passed since the last frame, essentially. So if I take the time here and do I don't know, divide by 4, whatever, and lerp that. Put that in there. And we'll put that in a color. And put that in a color. And change that to red. There we go. I need to, oh no, not divide, so I need to mod. Mod 4 and then clamp. Mod gets you the remainder of something. So if you divide like a value by 10 by 4, you'll get the answer 2. Okay, so we'll take that mod there. Oh, and then I'm gonna divide that by 4, this value. That give me it as a decimal then. So if it's 2 and I divide by 4, I'll get 0.5. And the 0.5 I can then just like round it or floor it, whatever I want to do. The alpha. And we should hopefully see this flicker to red every 4 seconds. So yeah, it went red there. Then back. So you can do something like that if you're doing it like a loop. But if you're not doing a loop, you want to use NPC. Is Ryan streaming on other platforms than YouTube? I'm streaming on YouTube, horizontal and vertical. We're experimenting with a new feature they got on Streamlabs, and also Twitch. Is there a way to make the transition slightly smooth? Yeah, you just don't do the rounding part. Just chuck that in there. Yeah. The rounding just rounds it down or up. So I'm just obviously skipping that part. Very slightly smooth. It's just whatever question I see, JT. I didn't even see the previous smoke question. Put it back in the chat if you want. You can't be seeing any pinks in the transition. Huh? It's only pink because I'm going from white to red. obviously you're going to see pink because a smooth transition from white to red involves pink. How to smooth the red to white and back? Oh, right, so it doesn't jump back to the start. You can use a sine wave. So you can just do that with a sine wave here. Like that. The sine wave though will go so the sine wave goes up to 1 down to -1, and you may not want it to do that because it goes -1 for too long. So this, as you see, goes under. But if you want to keep it like that, you can do. Just multiply. If you want to increase it, you just add 1 to it, and then divide by 2. And they'll go up and down in a smooth fashion like this. If you want to make it slower, you change the time here, multiply that by a time, and that'll be like 0.2, for example, and it'll be slower. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, same works with post-process material, just doing whatever you're doing here. Yep, you can also remap. You can also remap it if you want. There's a sine remapping. You put in the sine phase, and then you change what value you want it to be to what value you want it to come out as. So you can do that. Same thing. Yeah. I'm working on ISO perspective game, a scripted way for ceilings to vanish when a player enters. Any quick feedback on how to make a cone that will hide a circle of roof? You can make it also your own curves, Penguin. I'll show actually before we go on to Cougar one. I'll show Penguin's curve thing. So you can also make your own curve in here. So use which one is this? S curve? Nope. Curve Atlas row parameter. So you choose the curve you want it to use in here. So let's say, for example, we make a curve. And we'll do vector, because it's going to be a vector curve. Let's do that quickly. I'll just worry about the one value in here. Just do X. Or lock the other two down. So next here, we can make it go, add a key. And add another key. Make it go up like that. You got the values of 1, so that's what the lerp's doing. So we'll go up to 1, like that, and then and then back down to 0. And if you want to make them smooth, you just select them, and you can just auto. If you want to curve them like that, we'll bring these ones down a bit. So yeah, whatever. So let's say that's a curve. All right. I can go back into that material and I can use that curve here. No, I can't use that curve here. Can I use that one? Material. Is that this one? Yeah, was it? What's that? Oh, curve atlas. That's right. You need a curve atlas, and then you have to add it to here. So gradient curves, add it onto here. Choose the one we just done. I thought I'd done it as color curve. Can I do it as color curve? Curve. Oh, sorry, I did it as a vector, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. So we just lock those ones down. Up to there, up to there. Yeah, whatever. And we can auto that. There we go. Okay, so that's the color curve. Then you make a curve atlas, and you add the curve here. So there's my curve. And then on the material, on this thing, you choose the atlas, which should be that one. Then you choose the curve from the atlas. There. And we're putting the time here, curve time. And then we just done it in the red value, so we just do this and put that into the alpha of our lerp. And what we should see, follow the curve that we've done in the curve, our custom curve. Should. Default value 1 0 curved. Yeah, that should work. I did do it in that, didn't I? Yeah, red channel. That should work. At least we should see it in here, if I'm saying. Nope. Does it not work in this? Hold on, let me chuck an actual actor here. Might be a case of one of those things that don't work inside the editor. We'll go to simulate. Should do though. Oh, it did. It flashed something. Is it not going to loop it? Am I misunderstanding why it's doing that? May well be. Okay, so we'll just do the whole modulo thing. So this one, you want to mod below 1. There you go. So mod 1 just gets you the fraction. That'll go into there, and that 4 it will just loop this bit over and over and over again. But yeah, so you can use your own custom curves if you want to. If you don't want to use a sine wave, you can use your own waves. Do whatever you like with it. The nice thing about this as well is that you can also edit this however you want it to look. So, for example, we can take this like this, and make it spiky and weird, and then this will reflect that change I've done in the curve. Yeah. You don't have a modulo node? You should do. Just type in modulo. It's a math node. So if not, use fmod. You can do that same thing here. Marco, how to create a clean, scalable save system in Blueprints for a complete game? I've got that coming soon. I'm working on it. A very, very comprehensive save system. But yeah. Unfortunately, we're well over time. I do have to go, but we're back here next week, I promise. So we can answer more questions then. But I want to say a massive thank you to everyone and their questions for today. Thank you for everyone who's supporting the channel over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/Ryan Laley. We can find all our videos early. We've got stuff coming back with state trees and also gameplay tags and also uses of the gameplay tags. And so we're going to show, there's a video coming soon that I really liked, which was showing how gameplay tags can be used to measure progress in a linear story or non-linear story. So do come back and check that out when it's uploaded very, very shortly. So yeah, thank you very much everyone. Make sure you subscribe and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye everyone.